I got a question. Do you guys want me to go live for the games in 2025? I love doing it. It's probably my favorite part of the entire job. But if you guys love it as much as me and want me to continue to do it in 2025, spam Flock in the comment section down below. It's up in the air. The bosses are going through decisions over this spring period. You guys can help push it over the edge. Give me as many Flocks as you can right now in the comment section. Welcome into the show, everybody. It is mailbag time. Time to open up the bag and get questions from you guys, the viewers. Y'all ask me your questions every single Tuesday evening on our live show. I love answering them. So let's waste no longer time and let's get into it, starting with Kimberly Harmon saying, #Ravens, should Lamar Jackson get more than $70 million? Yes or no? I don't think more than $70 million. I don't think $70 million. Dak is the highest paid quarterback right now, and I believe he's just making 60. Let me pull it up right now on my computer. Yeah, he's making 60 million flat. Josh Allen's tied with 55. I would pay Lamar $62 million. He'd be the highest paid. I don't think you need to go more than 70. That seems like a massive jump from 60 to 70. I don't think that would happen. Next one up, Kyler Richards. #Ravens, who do you think we should draft? Great question, Kyler. I think obviously it depends who's there, but let me just answer this as best as I can. I would love James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. I think he's got a lot of upside. However, it does scare me a little bit that he is like a David Ojabo 2.0. That kind of gives me a little bit of pause because he generated a ton of pressures in Tennessee. Decent bit of sacks, 7.5, but like it wasn't anything crazy. Jahdae Barron, the cornerback out of Texas, if he falls to 27, that's a guy I would love to select. And then also, I've seen Tedero McMillan slide down some draft boards. I think if he's there at 27 and there's not a great edge rusher or cornerback available, I think getting him would be an absolute steal. Next up, we got one from Rins_365. Should the Ravens trade for Garrett Wilson? Interesting. We haven't talked a ton of Garrett Wilson on the channel. I don't know if Garrett Wilson is going to go anywhere. I doubt he's going to go anywhere. They made all of those changes over the offseason, firing the head coach. I believe they fired the general manager as well. And so, like, I think, and head coach, he was gone after week 5 in Robert Saleh. I don't think he's going to go anywhere, but I would love Garrett Wilson. I think that he would be the long-term solution for wide receiver 1 for this team. I think Garrett Wilson is an absolute freak. What he's been able to do in New York through his first 3 seasons with that quarterback situation has been very, very impressive. I'd give up a decent bit to land a guy like Garrett Wilson, and I'd make sure he stays in Baltimore forever. What say you guys? Let me know in the comment section down below. Should the Ravens trade for Wilson? If you think so, give me a T for trade. And if you don't think so, go ahead and give me a P for pass. Give me your answer in the comment section down below. Next up from Wiggins Prods 2, should we draft Luther Burden? #Ravens. I love Luther Burden, Wiggins Prods. He's a guy who also has been sliding down draft boards. I would be shocked if he was available for you in the second round. I think he will be there in the first round based on kind of all the chatter you've heard recently about him. The big shtick with Luther Burden is a lot of people are really upset that like 38% of his receptions came from behind the line of scrimmage. And so all these people see that statistic and they automatically just say, he can't play X, right? He just like he's a reception merchant and gets all of his yards after the catch. Like he can't do anything downfield. In my opinion, that couldn't be any further from the truth. The reason that he had that much or that high a percentage of catches behind the line of scrimmage is not because of him. It's because Brady Cook was his quarterback. And Brady Cook sucks as is, but was also dealing with an injury. And it also is because Mizzou is where he played football at. And their offense took a massive step backward from 2023 to 2024, and he struggled because of that. And I don't think it was his fault. So if he falls to you in the second round, I would be absolutely doing backflips. Even if he goes middle of the second and you could trade up to get him, I think that'd be awesome. Next one coming up from Yaz. Where do you see the Ravens going in round 1 of the draft? I'm going to answer this position-wise because I already answered player-wise earlier. I think position-wise, I see them going corner or edge. I'll say corner or defensive line. I would be very surprised if they draft any other position. Maybe safety would make a little bit of sense. But, like, in my opinion, you are already, like, great everywhere else. You just kind of need a lot of depth. And I would love a true number 1 edge rusher. I'd love a true corner that I have a lot of confidence in. Right now, Chidobe Awuzie is the starter, him or TJ Tampa. I don't really love that. So if there's a great corner available, I would love to select him. If there's a great edge rusher available, I'd love to select him. Interior defensive lineman, you could convince me, as well as safety. Next one, coming up from Papa Shook. Who's the greatest Raven of all time in your opinion? I mean, it's got to be Ray Lewis. It's either Ray Lewis or Ed Reed, because those guys both are looked at as the greatest of all times at their positions. I mean, what they were able to do in their time in Baltimore, it's the reason that this franchise is so successful, because it was built on the backs of those guys. Not only guys that excelled on the football field, but could establish and lead a culture in a locker room. Man, there's no doubt it's either one of those two. I'd probably give the nod to Ray over Ed, but Ed's right there. Ed might be my favorite of the two, but I think Ray is probably the greatest of all time. He's probably the Ravens GOAT. Great question, though, Papa Shook. If you guys want to be a Ravens GOAT, you can go to chatsports.com/Ravens draft hat and get yours right now. Okay, the draft's coming up. I'm sure these are going to go by like this, and they are freaking sweet. Okay, you can get the black, you can get the white, kind of cream color. You can either get it in the trucker style, or if you like just a regular old ball cap, you can get it in this as well. It can come with the crab on it. It can come with the crab off it. But in my opinion, if you're going to get this hat, you got to get the crab on it, because that is actually so sweet. They do little, for these draft hats, little tokens of each city. Of course, you got to get the blue crab on there. So chatsports.com/Ravens draft hat is where you need to go. The link is going to be in the comments and description of today's video. Check it out right now. Ravens draft hats, chatsport.com/Ravens draft hat. Next up, coming from Jordan C. My brother-in-law's name is Jordan Clements. I don't know if this is him. Love it if it is. Anyway, I'll answer. What would you be willing to give up for Tyreek Hill and his contract? Great question. I'd be willing to give up. You see, you got to think about what the Steelers just gave up for DK Metcalf, and it was a 2nd and a 7th. I think I'd probably be willing to do the same for Tyreek Hill. Maybe a 3rd and a 6th would be a little bit more what I would like to do. I don't know. Probably that. A 3rd and a 6th for Tyreek, I would love. Maybe a 2nd and a 7th. You could convince me once I see all those guys lined up in the offense together. Jack Lotteray, #Ravens. What's one player that struggled last year that will have a great season this year? Great question, Jack. I'm excited to see what Andrew Voorhees brings to the table, the left guard. He struggled in his limited amount of starts, and then he got hurt, and then Patrick McCarry came in, and then he sat the bench for the rest of the time. However, I think last year was fantastic for his development. I'm sure he grew so much in that season, kind of getting to play that second string role behind a guy like Patrick McCarry, who's been in this league a very long time, could play every single position on the offensive line. I'm expecting a really big jump up for Andrew Voorhees in this next year. Up next, we got B. What's up, Barrett? #Ravens, do you think it's time for Mark Andrews to take a step back for likely, especially after that brutal drop to end the season? Oh, Barrett, if you only knew how much I've talked about this on this channel. I don't know. They have such different strengths. Mark Andrews is obviously a little more dependable, which is ironic because of the drop. But likely he's just such a better athlete. I would have felt comfortable moving on from Mark Andrews over the offseason, getting something back in a trade, saving $11 million, and likely taking that step up into that tight end 1 spot. But honestly, after the way this season started, likely on an absolute tear, over 100 receiving yards against KC, Mark Andrews, it took him like 4 weeks to get multiple catches in a game. You would have expected it to kind of happen last season, but I mean, Mark had a fantastic year. He led the team in receiving touchdowns. I think you're going to see a little bit more of the switch, but this might kind of be the year where they're passing each other, like two ships in the night, and they're like this. And they're kind of even. But then after this, Isaiah Likely's probably going to go into the tight end 1 spot, and then Mark Andrews into that tight end 2. Deshaun86 says, hashtag Ravens, should the Ravens trade down to 32 pick? Also trading away plus a 4th round pick to get the Eagles, 2nd round pick, and also moving down to the 32 pick. Deshaun, I think you are talking about the ESPN Plus article that was released today. I'm not really interested in trading down in the draft. You have 11 draft picks. I don't necessarily think you need many more draft picks. I mean, to get a second one would be awesome. Like a second rounder, that would be fantastic. And you already have that 4th round pick. You got 2 of them, so adding in that wouldn't be that bad. I would probably do it depending on who's there, but it's like I'm not pounding my table that this team needs to trade down. If anything, the fact that they have 11 draft picks tells me they need to trade up. They need to do something with that draft capital, make a move, get a better player. Pop Punk Cowboy, he's next up saying, hashtag Ravens, what practice squad guy do you see stepping up this season? Great question. I am really excited to see Devontae Walker wasn't necessarily a practice squad guy, but he had 1 catch this last year. He spent time on the practice squad and off the practice squad. So I think I'm going to say him. Malik Cunningham is also, no, actually, scratch that, Dayton Wade. Dayton Wade's my answer. He flashed onto the scene during the preseason. I thought he should have made the initial 53-man roster over Deontay Hardy. I mean, he showed us a lot of really great stuff in his limited amount of time. I would love to see him step up and be a great slot receiver for this team in 2025. Hashtag Ravens, could the Ravens go after C.J. Mosley? Great question, Joshua. I think they should. I think they could. C.J. Mosley is a guy that, obviously was in Baltimore. He played with Zach Orr. They were on the same team in the same linebacker room. And I think he'd be relatively cheap. He's still owed $4.5 million from the Jets. I would love the addition of C.J. Mosley to this team. I think he would be an absolute stud. This team needs help at inside linebacker, obviously. And so Mosley's a guy I would love for them to go after. Final question of the day coming in from Reed. Will the Ravens trade up in the draft? Funny, I've talked about it a good bit already today. I don't think they will. I would hope they would. Again, like I said, they got 4 6-rounders. They got 2 4th-rounders. A lot of times what that should and could be used for is to move up and get somebody better. But if they're sitting at like pick number 21 and a guy like Jahdae Barron, Will Johnson, Tedero McMillan, any of those guys are still available, Mike Green, he's there as well. Like, I would want to move up without even thinking twice about it to snag one of those studs. So I don't think they will. I wouldn't bet on them doing it. But if I were Eric DeCosta, I'd be heavily looking into it. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section. Will the Ravens trade up in the draft? Simple yes or no will suffice. Just let me know in the comment section down below whether or not you think they're going to make a move by giving me a yes or a no. Thank you so much to everybody who made it all the way through today's video. Make sure you guys subscribe so that way you don't miss it whenever we go live. It's every single Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. You guys get to ask me questions. I get to answer them. Ton of fun. Make sure you don't miss a moment. Hit that sub button.